Hi, this is Matt at AppWorks, and today we're going to be talking about the left, right, and middle functions in FileMaker. So here we just have a really basic text field. It's just a note, and this is a really good way to demonstrate how these features work. So I'm going to bring up Data Viewer because it's a really good way to look at the data. And so if we just look at the note field by double-clicking it in Data Viewer, we can see the whole text of the field. If I use the left function against this, and I can get a specific number of characters. So like the left one character is just going to be the very first letter, O for once. And left 4 is going to be the first word. And if I say left 20, I'll get the first 20 characters, wherever that happens to cut off. So similarly, you would use right, and that would get the rightmost characters of the whole thing, so the last word of the whole thing. And if you use middle, you have to provide two numbers in there. You have to provide the text that you want, the start, and the number of characters. So middle would look like this. Middle note 20. So that's going to be where it starts in. Let's start in like at character 5 and say that I want to get 10 characters. So it starts actually at the space, so I really probably want to start here. So the middle is a little tricky because everything's exactly character specific. And if you start at like a number of characters past where it would make sense to go, so like 400, then it's nothing because it's not even 400 characters long. Okay, so left, right, and middle have corresponding fields that match, functions that match, which are LeftWords and LeftValues, RightWords and RightValues, and MiddleWords and MiddleValues. So there's really 9 functions that we're talking about here. Let's take a look at LeftWords next. LeftWords is great because if you operate it against a text field, it's going to use a word separator, which is going to be a space or multiple marks of punctuation. And so I can say LeftWords of my note and get like the left 10 words, and that's what I'm going to get. So this one you have to kind of be careful in terms of what separates a word. So for example, certain individual punctuation marks do, but other times it takes 2 specific punctuation marks, and the rules to that can be kind of complex. But for a basic sentence, it's just basically a space character. RightWords works the same way. So if I say RightWords of the same thing, I'll get the right 10 words of this, basically the last 10 words of this. Notice also that it ends in a period, but RightWords cuts off that period. It brings it in if it's in the middle, but it ignores punctuation at the beginning or the end of what you're talking about. And then MiddleWords, exactly as you'd expect, works the same way and requires 2 arguments, 2 functions. So if I want the middle word starting at like the 3rd word in, and with 10 words, I would get something that looks like that. So pretty useful. Another really good way to look at this is you can add some other functions in here like length. So if I say get the length of this field and spell it correctly, then what it will tell me is the number of characters in this particular field. And so if I want to say I want to get like a certain number of characters close to the end, you can say right of the note, and then you want to get like the total length of it, maybe minus 10 characters. And so this would get you everything except the first 10 characters. And so you can kind of combine your functions to get a lot of extra power. This is really useful if you're doing something like parsing a phone number that might be 10 digits, it might be 7 digits or something like that, but you want to get a certain, the middle of it. You might want to have some different functionality to do things. Okay, let's look at the last set of functions, which is LeftValues. So what this will do is it actually takes a look at hard returns, and this is a really good way to deal with a return separated list. This is actually 3 values because I have one value which is a long paragraph, a second one which is a blank line, and a third one which is the next one. So it's different than what you'd normally see in like a spreadsheet where you just get a bunch of numbers, for example. But if I say LeftValues 1, that gives me my first sentence. 2 gives me that actually gives me my first and second line, and 3 will give me my whole thing. So middle values and right values, of course, if I say RightValues 1, that's going to give me just my last line. And then middle values, just as we've seen with the other ones, will give me, for example, if I want the second line, that's not going to make a whole lot of sense here because it's just going to be a hard return. So I can say middle values 1, 1, which is the first line, 3, 1, that's basically sort of the same as left and right. But that's how the middle values function works. And so this is also very useful, especially when you're dealing with, as I said, like a list of numbers or a list of dates or something like that. You can get a range of them. So these are really powerful functions. I use them all the time for text, number, date, but probably more I use these things for text more than anything. Thanks very much for your time.